Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Grow Bites. Today's video is about breadsticks, which I had mentioned in my previous video of pumpkin soup. These breadsticks are light and chewy with a buttery and cheesy crust and tons of seasoning on top. We'll also be making a dipping sauce which goes well with these breadsticks so that it can be served as an appetizer, or you can serve them along with soup. Either ways, these are just amazing and can be made easily. So let's get started. So for this you need bread flour 2 cups. You can use all-purpose flour as well, but in bread flour the protein content is a bit more than all-purpose flour, which gives the breadsticks a more chewy texture. Also you need warm water 3/4 cup, butter, olive oil, milk powder. Here I am using skim milk powder, sugar, instant yeast and salt. Now to a large bowl add 2.5 teaspoons of milk powder, fat pinch of salt, half a tablespoon of sugar, 3/4 tablespoon of instant dry yeast and 3/4 cup of warm water. Now just mix this well and set aside so that the yeast gets activated. After 5 minutes, adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the yeast mixture, and then mix it well. Now to this we are going to add the 2 cups of bread flour. Do not add all at once. Add it in small portions. Mix it well, and we have to knead this into a smooth dough. Because of the high protein content in the bread flour, it creates more gluten, which is good for the breads or the breadsticks which we are making today, to give it a more chewy texture compared to the all-purpose flour. But if you do not have bread flour, all-purpose flour works absolutely fine. There'll be a slight difference in the texture, that's all. So knead it. If you think it's a bit dry, you can add warm water, but mine is absolutely fine, so I'm not adding any water. And if by any chance if you do not have milk powder, you can substitute the 3/4 cup water with full fat milk, like half cup full fat warm milk and 1/4 cup warm water, and knead it into a smooth dough. It will be a bit sticky, but not very dry or smooth. See, this is how it should be looking like. Now we're going to keep this aside. Now take a 13 by 9 inch rectangular baking sheet, cookie sheet, or any other baking pan of the similar to the same size, or if you have smaller pans you will have to use 2, and then brush it with about 2 tablespoons of melted butter. You can use olive oil instead. Now we're going to roll the dough into the size of the rectangular pan. If you do not have a rectangular pan, you can use a circular pan as well, because anyways we are rolling into the size of the pan you will be using, and then we are going to set it aside to rise. See, I've rolled this to the size of the rectangular pan and just making it fit into the pan. Just stretch it. And now we're going to brush this with melted butter, maybe around 1 or 2 tablespoons of melted butter. 1 tablespoon should be fine. Just just brush it all over the dough. Now we're going to wrap it tightly with the cling film and set aside in a warm place so that it gets puffed up and doubled in size. It might take around 1 hour or so depending on the temperature at your place. So roughly around 1 hour. So meanwhile the dough is rising, let's make the dipping sauce. For this you need tomato puree, about 3/4 cup, sugar half teaspoon, dried basil 1/4 teaspoon, salt a pinch, garlic powder 1/4 teaspoon, and dried oregano half a teaspoon. If you do not have dried oregano or basil, you can just use about 3/4 to 1 teaspoon of Italian mixed herbs. Now take a small saucepan and add all the ingredients which are needed for making the dipping sauce. To make the tomato puree, you can just use the blend the tomatoes, crush it using a blender or a mixer. And now keep a low to medium flame and stir the mixture well and bring it to a boil. Once it starts boiling, keep it to a low flame and simmer it for another 3 to 5 minutes. Now switch off the flame and transfer this to a bowl. If you do not have time to make this dipping sauce, you can just substitute with a store-bought pizza sauce or marinara sauce, but try to make it because it's very simple. Now let's move on to the seasoning mix. You need grated Parmesan cheese, about 1 to 1.5 tablespoon, garlic powder 3/4 teaspoon, onion powder half a tablespoon, dried basil 3/4 teaspoon, dried oregano half a tablespoon, and salt 1/4 teaspoon. Now mix all the ingredients in a small bowl and keep it aside. Preheat your oven to 220 degrees Celsius, which is about 428 degrees Fahrenheit. And now take out the dough which has been risen well. See, it's all puffed up and almost double the size. It took about 1 hour for me for the dough to rise. And now we are going to score this into 10 equal breadsticks, either using a knife or a pizza cutter. I'll show with both the knife and the pizza cutter. You can use whichever method is best for you, so that once it's baked, it's easy for you to break it into breadsticks. And we have to bake this in a preheated oven for about 10 to 15 minutes until the top it's golden brown and the edges starts to turn crispy. And the baking time always depends on your oven, so just check after 10 to 12 minutes. So breadsticks are out of the oven. It's golden brown and very crispy on the outer edges. It took about 18 minutes for me to bake these breadsticks. So once they are immediately out of the oven, brush them with 1 tablespoon of melted butter. You can use olive oil instead, but I'm using butter. And then sprinkle the seasoning mix all over the breadsticks. The seasoning mix is it's the highlight of these breadsticks. With the herbs and cheese and garlic powder, it gives an amazing flavor to the breadsticks. And now set aside to cool within the pan itself for about 5 to 10 minutes. So after 5 to 10 minutes, we are going to slide this onto the cutting board and going to slice this using a knife or a pizza cutter. I'm using a knife here because it's very easy to cut it, because already we have made the markings before it was being baked, so knife should work fine. This is a very simple recipe and very easy to make, and I've made the video in such a way that it's split into 3 parts so that you can plan accordingly. And and see how crispy that is, and it's has a very good light texture. You can have these breadsticks on its own, or you can serve it along with the dipping sauce which we prepared earlier, or you can enjoy these breadsticks with your favorite soup. So it's an amazing breadstick recipe, so try this out, and I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and see you all soon with more good recipes. Until then, goodbye.